The call lasted less than 10 seconds. I remember staring at my phone while it rang, letting it go silent. 3 minutes later, I learned something about myself that I still wish I had known sooner. I used to think small decisions didn't really matter. Not the little ones, not the ones that take less than a second. Ignoring a phone call, delaying a reply, saying I'll get back to it later. Those choices felt invisible, harmless. At the time, my life looked completely normal from the outside. I was 34, working as a project coordinator for a mid-sized logistics company in Chicago. My days were predictable. Emails, meetings, spreadsheets, coffee that tasted slightly burnt by noon. Most evenings followed the same routine. I'd leave the office around 6, take the train home, eat something simple for dinner, and scroll my phone longer than I meant to. Nothing dramatic, nothing unusual, just a quiet rhythm of adult life. And honestly, I liked it that way. I liked feeling in control. I liked believing I was responsible, organized, someone who handled things. But if I'm honest, there was one small habit I had that didn't really match that image. I avoided uncomfortable conversations. Not intentionally, at least that's what I told myself. But if someone called at a time that felt inconvenient, I'd let it ring. If a message looked like it might lead to a long conversation, I'd reply later. Sometimes later meant hours, sometimes days. It wasn't that I didn't care, I just preferred dealing with things when I felt ready. At least, that's how I justified it. And for years, nothing bad ever came from it. Until that Thursday evening. It was around 7:10 p.m. I had just finished dinner and was sitting on the couch with my laptop open, pretending to work while actually watching random videos. My phone buzzed on the coffee table, face down. I glanced at the screen when it lit up. It was my younger brother, Alex. Now, Alex and I weren't the type of siblings who talked every day. We got along fine, but our relationship was casual. A quick call every couple weeks, the occasional text. Nothing deep. So when I saw his name, my first thought was simple. He probably just wants to chat. And at that moment, I didn't feel like chatting. Not because of him, just because I felt tired. You know, that kind of tired that isn't really physical, just mental. I remember thinking, I'll call him back later. The phone kept ringing. Then it stopped. Silence again. I flipped the phone over and looked at the screen. One missed call. I sat there for a second. Then I put the phone back down. 3 minutes passed. At 7:13 p.m., my phone rang again. This time it wasn't Alex. It was my mom. And the moment I answered, something in her voice felt different. Not loud, not panicked, just different. She said my name slowly. Ryan, where were you? I remember laughing a little. Mom, I was right here. What's going on? There was a pause. Then she said something that still echoes in my head. Alex tried to call you. I said, yeah, I saw. I was gonna call him back. Another pause. Longer this time. Then she said quietly, he got into a car accident about 10 minutes ago. For a second, my brain didn't react. The words didn't land right away. It felt like hearing information about someone else, someone far away. Is he okay? I asked. My voice sounded calm, too calm. Mom said the ambulance had just taken him to the hospital. They didn't know much yet. But the thing that stuck with me wasn't the accident. It was the next sentence she said. Ryan, he was trying to reach you before it happened. That sentence changed something in my mind. Not instantly, but slowly, like a crack spreading through glass. After we hung up, I sat there staring at my phone again. The same phone that had been ringing 3 minutes earlier. The same call I ignored because I didn't feel like talking. And suddenly that tiny decision felt different, heavy. Not because I thought I could have prevented the accident. I know that's not how life works. But my mind kept replaying one question. Why was he calling me? At the hospital later that night, Alex was awake. Bruised, shaken, but alive. Thankfully, the accident wasn't life-threatening. A car had run a red light and hit the side of his vehicle. The doctor said he was lucky. Everyone kept saying that. Lucky. But when I finally sat beside his bed, I couldn't stop thinking about that missed call. After a while, I asked him, "Hey, earlier tonight, why were you calling me?" He looked at me for a second, then shrugged. Nothing serious." He said it casually, like it barely mattered. "I was just driving home and thinking about something." "What?" I asked. He hesitated, then said something that made my stomach sink. He said, "I was thinking about quitting my job." That caught me off guard. Alex had been at the same company for 6 years. Stable job, good pay, predictable life. "Why?" I asked. He took a breath, then said, "Because I hate it." There was no drama in the way he said it, just honesty. He told me he'd been feeling stuck for months, drained, like every day looked exactly the same. And earlier that evening, while driving, he had this sudden thought. Maybe I should talk to Ryan. Maybe his older brother would have some perspective. Maybe a simple conversation would help him sort through things. So he called me, and I didn't answer. He didn't blame me, not once. In fact, he laughed about it. "You probably thought I just wanted to talk." And that's when I felt something uncomfortable, because that's exactly what I thought. Just talk. Just another call. Just something that could wait. Over the next few days, Alex recovered quickly. Physically, at least. But our conversation that night stayed in my head. Not because of the accident itself, but because of the timing. That 3-minute window between the missed call and the second phone call from my mom. It forced me to confront something I had never really examined before. The way we treat small moments. We assume we have time. Time to respond, time to listen, time to care later. But life doesn't organize itself around our convenience, and sometimes the moments we delay are the ones someone else needed the most. A week later, Alex called again. This time I answered immediately, not out of guilt, but out of awareness. We talked for almost an hour about his job, about why he felt stuck, about what he actually wanted to do with his life. The conversation wasn't dramatic. There was no life-changing speech, just two brothers talking honestly. At one point, he said something simple. "You know what helped the most?" "What?" I asked. "Just feeling like someone was actually listening." That sentence stayed with me longer than anything else, because it made me realize something uncomfortable about human behavior. Most of us believe we're good people, supportive, available, present. But when you look closely at your daily habits, the truth can be different. We postpone listening. We delay connection. We assume important conversations will still be there tomorrow. Most of the time, they are, but not always. Months later, Alex did quit his job. He started a smaller business with a friend. Risky, uncertain, but he seemed lighter, more like himself. Sometimes he jokes about the accident now, calls it the most expensive wake-up call of his life. But for me, the wake-up call wasn't the accident. It was the missed call. Because before that night, I believed something many people believe. That responsibility means handling the big things, the serious decisions, the obvious crises. But I learned something quieter. Sometimes responsibility is simply answering the phone. Not because the call is urgent, but because the person on the other side decided you were the one they wanted to reach. I still miss calls sometimes. Life is busy. That part hasn't changed. But now when my phone rings and I hesitate, I remember that night. I remember staring at the screen while it rang, thinking I'd call back later, thinking it didn't matter. And I remember how 3 minutes can change the way you see your own behavior. Not dramatically, just enough to notice the small choices we usually ignore. because the truth is, most turning points in life don't arrive as huge decisions. They arrive disguised as ordinary moments. A call, a message, a conversation someone almost didn't have. And sometimes the only difference between regret and understanding is whether we choose to answer.